listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
We're not doing horror this week. This is your buddy Ghoul Mike.
We'll get to horror eventually, I'm sure. You'll have this.
How you doing? How you doing, everyone?
Instead, we're going to be covering a series that, in many ways, has been horrifically bad.
It has its moments.
Okay. I mean, we're covering the Fast and the Furious movies, a series I wanted to actually discuss for a while, but Josh hates the Fast and the Furious series. I was like, just watch number 5. Just give me number 5, okay? 5 is the good one. He's like, I can't make it through this. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Fine, whatever. But the series did not start auspiciously. It did not continue auspiciously. It took quite a long time to finally find its feet. And then it finally got good for a little while, but it's kind of shitty again. So,
yeah. The first movie was good. I mean, I didn't understand it that much because I wasn't into cars. Like, the first movie is really about the cars. Like, it's a good movie. It's an action flick.
Sure.
Theft, police, double cross, underhanded, whatever, story at the end, brotherhood, whatever.
It's Point Break, but with vroom vroom.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
It is. It totally is. I've made that point repeatedly on the website because that's what it fucking is. It's just goddamn Point Break, guys.
Point Break, a movie I also love very much. So now I understand why this speaks to me.
The first Fast and the Furious movie, Point Break. So
with surfboards.
With surfboards. I think they upgraded with the cars because I've gone back and watched Point Break, and as much as I love Keanu and Patrick Swayze, that movie is cheesy as fucking hell.
It's aged quite a bit. It really has. But it's a fun movie. It's a 90s in a nutshell is what it is.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it kind of feels that way for Fast and Furious because Fast and Furious started in 1996. Is that right?
Actually, believe it or not, if you want to throw up a little bit, 2001. It's in the 2000s. It felt older to me too.
Here's the thing. If you're like, it felt older. Okay, we're talking about a difference of 5 years, and it's 2023, dude. That's over.
It is 2013. It's 2013 still, my guy. Please.
It's 2023, dude.
I refuse to believe that's where we are.
You're like that guy that's like, I'm not that far from Final Fantasy IV. Honest, guys, no.
It's funny. I saw a post on a social media site within the last couple of days that said we are closer to the summer of 2069 than the summer of 69, and I literally wanted to throw up.
So the meme I see is the ones like the teens that are like, oh, you grew up in the late 1900s, and I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my god. That will never be something that my mind can grasp.
But I mean, we are far enough along where they haven't even seen it now, and at least some of these kids were alive for the start of the Fast and the Furious series. This is their Point Break series, dude.
Yes. And the first movie, it, like we said, had its moments. It was about the cars. Like, the cars were the star of the movie. But then it was really good. Then we move on to the second one, and the second one, like, what are your?
It's a movie so bad, Vin Diesel refused to come back, okay?
The only one without Dominic Toretto. That's so
in any way, shape, or form. Now, the third one's no treasure either, but he at least comes back for a little bit, and we'll touch upon why. But the second one, oh my god. Like, okay, so it introduces the two characters whose names I'm now not remember. Tej is one of them, played by Ludacris.
Tej and Roman.
Roman, thank you. Or you introduce the two of them, Roman the Mouth and Tej the tech guy, who wasn't the tech guy yet, but is now the tech guy because they reinvented him for the fifth film. But, they're good side characters, and there's some cheesy moments, but Paul Walker, bless his dead soul, could not carry that movie on his own, okay?
He tried. He gave it his all.
He tried with every single iota of bad acting talent he had, and he could not carry it. His frosted hair was unable to lift that movie on its own.
Oh my god.
So
2003, the summer of frosted tips. But like you said, like it was a bad movie wrapped up in trying to be a sequel that wasn't quite there. And even the one that comes after this, which we'll talk about next, is like, a bit of a side story stepchild of the franchise.
Yeah. But the thing about Too Fast, Too Furious that I don't want to skip yet is it introduces the one major thing that the first movie didn't have. First movie being Point Break really kind of lacks a villain. Like, you're
Yes.
supposed to think of Dominic Toretto as a villain, but because he bonds with Paul Walker's character, whatever his name is, O'Connor, Brian O'Connor.
Paul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul Walker. Because he
Yeah.
bonds
Yeah.
with Paul Walker,
Right.
like there's no real villain. There's a hero and a kind of an anti-hero, and they're circling around each other, kind of giving off gay vibes the whole time, which I was there for. If they wanted to commit us to that in the movies, that would have been fine. No complaints, no judgment. But like the second movie does the thing that they have to do because they don't have Dom again. And I mean, if they'd done the same movie over again, I don't think it would have been anywhere near or any more successful than what we got. But they
Right.
give us a villain. They introduce a drug dealer, and they say this is who you actually have to fight with cars now. And that's where the series went from that point forward. Go fight with cars.
Yeah, yeah, and still the movie, like, it has some outlandish moments in there, but we haven't quite gotten to, like, you know, the Looney Tunes comicness of the later part of the franchise, where
Much
it's like every
later.
movie just tries to one up itself.
And even the third movie, as bad as it is, because it has barely anything to do with the series until that last scene. But even
Yeah.
the third movie at least tries to keep shit somewhat grounded. There's still
Yeah.
way too much CGI in that movie, especially in the final downtown or the downhill Tokyo scene that you know is all fake.
Oh, but come on! That was absolutely done by two drivers in those cars. Come on, now.
Sure. But like, it still keeps things fairly grounded. Now, it's really weird to go from those two crime movies of the first couple to Tokyo Drift and suddenly have a story about high school.
Yeah,
really
it's
weird.
funny too. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's the military brat, you know, going, like, you know, has to leave home because, you know, a problem child, troubled kid, goes to live with his father in Japan, and, you know, meets Bow Wow and, like, you know, bonds and hangs out, and, you know, and then, you know, kind of back to sort of about the cars,
Kind
you know,
of.
with but
Kind
we're
of.
still in that, like, you know, not quite villain, but, you know, bad boy villain kind of local asshole, you know, grandfather's Yakuza, like, whatever. A lot of things to follow in that movie.
But we can't ignore it for two reasons. One, Dominic Toretto comes back, and Vin Diesel
Right.
did a spectacular job negotiating that contract.
I think he literally says 7 words.
He says 7 words, he gets paid a decent amount of money, and the most important thing, because Universal was desperate for him to come back, he negotiated that if he came back for that one scene in that movie, he would own the rights to the Riddick character and could do whatever he wanted with him from that point forward.
Oh, what a smart guy, dude. Riddick,
Right.
another great series, by the way. I love Riddick.
We can
That's
discuss
fun.
that series later. It's fantastic.
Oh,
but yeah, no.
heck yeah.
That's just like people give Vin Diesel shit, but he's built a career very smartly, I will note, out of just like being the kind of person that he is and making really smart contractual decisions like that one right there. Yeah.
And I mean, look at Groot too. I mean, literally, he's done the voice in other languages to literally own that voice. Like, there's no, you know, Swedish Groot. There's no, you know,
There's just Vin Diesel.
Ugandan Groot. It's Vin Diesel
Yep.
in that language. Like,
Yep.
it's crazy. You know, and even like, you know, another movie from, you know, our childhood, air quote, not quite, you know, childhood, but you get my point. The Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah.
Also Vin Diesel in a voiceover role. A fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
So makes a lot of smart decisions, that guy.
That's right. And then the other thing that the third movie brings in, which is key to the whole franchise, is Han.
Oh, one of my favorite characters of the whole series. I
And
love
interestingly, doesn't originate in Fast and Furious.
Han. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he comes from Justin Lin's, I'm not sure if it's his debut film, but his previous film, Better Luck Tomorrow, which I actually just recently watched. It's a decent little high school crime film. It's not bad. Like, it's not... It doesn't feel in the universe because it wasn't meant to be in the universe. But then, Justin Lin fell in love with the Han character and wanted to bring him back and was allowed to. So it was just like, all right, well, you're coming to go do these movies now, and Han fits so perfectly.
Han is great. You know, bit techie, bit smart, very street savvy. He's I think they call him the chameleon in the fourth one. Like, that's his role of the posse. He's the guy that like blends in and can just kind of like, you know, look like he appears to be there, which he plays fantastically.
A certain amount of spycraft to him, even if he doesn't have the spycraft. He works well in that one. And so that movie is throwaway on all regards, except for the fact that it finally brings Vin Diesel back and it introduces Han. Like, if it wasn't for those two things, you could just ignore this movie entirely and be like, this movie never happened. No, we don't need it. It's fine. Whatever.
There was a long period of time where, like, to me, this wasn't quite canon. You know, it had the name Fast and the Furious, but it wasn't quite
Mm-hmm.
in the same storyline. And then, we'll get to much later down the line how some of these characters come back, which is funny. But it really did, like you said, introduce Han, who was instrumental throughout the rest of the franchise, and
Mm-hmm.
Vin Diesel making another very smart decision.
Mm-hmm. So then we have Fast and Furious, which is, you can tell they named it that because they wanted a quote unquote soft reboot. They weren't rebooting,
Yes.
but they were rebooting all at the same time. So they did their soft reboot of the franchise. Basically, take it back to basics. Somehow, despite being a wanted criminal in the second movie, Brian O'Connor is once again with the FBI. Yeah, they just gloss right over. They're like, "You're not paying attention. You didn't watch Too Fast, Too Furious, right? You don't care about
Yeah.
this at all. It doesn't matter."
Yeah,
These
I was trying to figure out how he did that, and I really don't
Mhm.
think it's very well explained at all.
It's not explained at all. Like I know that in the sequel, he gets like a pass, and he's allowed to just
Yeah.
go off and be a citizen. But
Yes.
there's a big difference between we're not going to press any charges against you, and
Mhm.
we're going to let you back into the FBI. That's two very different things, there, guys.
It's quite a set of extremes, I would say.
They're just like,
you know,
no, we literally couldn't find anyone else on the planet to be an FBI agent again, so we're going to let you get a second try at it. And after they do that, he fucks him over again. So that was a really bad decision on their part.
yeah, but I mean, he probably made the right decision, though. I mean, family comes first.
It's just funny. So yeah, I know the fourth movie exists. There's
Yes.
some CGI sequence where they drive under a mountain tunnel to deliver drugs or not or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
And
they're trafficking drugs from Mexico to the United States through like underground tunnels and stuff. And like you said, the CGI is it's
Noticeable.
passable. But I mean, again, like it's a fun movie. It has its moments. This is where the franchise decided, like, hey, we went from getting 4 shots of this to now we're a franchise and this is what we are. And then 6-7 movies later, we're still going to be talking about them.
Yep, this was a big success for them because it brought all the original characters back together,
Yeah. Yeah.
and gave them like a villain to fight and a reason to exist all in the same movie. And
Mhm.
that was a big deal, but it wasn't this movie that really relaunched the franchise. It was the fifth one. Oh, the
So
fifth one.
It's so good.
It
It's
is
my favorite too.
stupidly
It's
good.
so good. It's so good.
Well, it does this thing that the movies needed. They built up
Mhm.
such a huge cast of characters that they
Mhm.
brought all the characters basically together, except for most of the cast of Tokyo Drift out of the Han,
Right.
and dumps them all into a single movie so they can play off each other and basically do an Ocean's 11. That's what it
Mhm.
is. They do an Ocean's 11, and so they get together to. They're on the run in Brazil. So they call in some guys and they're like, we could just steal a bunch of money and go live in a country without extradition and so forth. And you're like, you know what? We like you guys. Even though you're doing something wrong, you're doing it to a guy that's even more wrong. So let's just say this is a good idea.
Yeah,
And then they have fun.
bad guy, meets worse bad guy, bad
Mhm.
guy not so bad anymore kind of
Mhm.
thing.
And then, of course, they do the Ocean's 11 with cars.
One of the most fun, chase scenes in a
Oh my
movie is
God.
them dragging that fucking safe through
Fucking
the
safe.
downtown of Brazil, Rio. And
And-
just it faked me out too. Like that's I didn't know that happened until they showed it at the end. It was a great reveal, and that made the movie like just pay off for me in the end. It was a fun ride.
Yep.
You got all the characters playing off each other. It really felt like a good story. They all worked really well together. And in the end, the little fake out was just it was perfect. It was really well written.
But also the most important part of that movie is the fact that all that action there and that sequence done real. It's just practical effects. Like they had 3 different types of safe that they used depending upon what they needed, and they did it all with practical effects, and it's so stupidly awesome.
We've said before that, like, it's a lost art, practical effects, and it was done very well here. We've talked a couple times already about the CGI being passable. That's what made this movie great. You were 100% correct.
Yep, most of it was done with practical effects, and so they got like a real, true feel to it that the other movies just, lacked in comparison. And unfortunately, they didn't really learn the lesson because they started shying away from the practical effects again after this one and going back to a lot of CGI. Most of the later films are so glaringly obvious in their CGI. It's just like, I'm not invested in this anymore.
Yeah.
Really, I'm not
Really,
invested. Number 6.
yeah.
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 No.
it's okay. I'm
Fast and Furious 6,
fine.
yeah, it exists.
Yeah, it
It's
made more money than 5, I
hmm
guess you could
I
say, but
can't
I
really
don't think it's a better
remember
movie
most
at
of it.
all.
No, it's like something about one of the Shaw brothers and something car chase. Like I've seen this movie a couple times, and I'm sitting there going, "What the fuck happened to this one again?"
So like the main thing here is the whole Letty passing in the previous movie, and then or 2 movies ago, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was, and then I mean I gotta get confused here and there.
It's fine.
But then she's back here, but she has
Probably.
amnesia. Yeah, and Dom's like, I still love her, even though he's with the girl from Brazil, kind of, sort of. I don't know.
And has a kid
um
with her, which I feel really bad for that girl because she gets
yeah,
dumped after
yeah.
having his kid, and it's just like, oh, okay then.
But she sort of seems fine with it too at the end, which is just like it's like, we're gonna
How?
tie this up where I'm gonna be okay with this. You go be with the woman you love, even though you've been banging me for how long, and we have a child together. It's
At
fine.
least a year, at least a fucking year. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
guys, this is. There's some questionable morals in this movie. I'm having to have some problems with here.
And like
Yeah.
the whole plot with like it starts to get like more far-fetched. It's less about thefting cars and whatnot, and now it's like a computer system thing to like shut down
Yes.
power or
Yes.
something like.
This is where it starts to get really silly. Is like
Yeah,
they're looking for the God's Eye or something. Was that this one? No, it's the next one, isn't it?
but I think that's the next
Next one.
one.
It's the
Yeah,
next
but
one
I
with
mean,
the
like I
God's
said,
Eye. Yeah, but
these last 3 or 4 kind of just all blend together into one giant cacophony of like, hey, how can we top the action here? And now I don't remember what I watched.
yeah, no, and I like it. The thing is, I like the seventh one despite its weird over the top techness. But it is this
Mhm,
thing where this movie introduces the concept of let's make them not just street racers, but let's start making them a little more like spies because now they have an
mhm,
international like quest they have to go on, and they have to deal with like a guy going out for revenge on them who has international spy training. So now
mhm,
they need to become international spies to keep up with them, and
mhm.
that was far fetched enough because you're like, what movie are we watching? This is the sequel to the movie where they stole a safe and were dumb. Like, really? But because
Yeah,
that one at least kept things grounded. Like they were on the street racing the whole time. This sixth
right.
one, they're like, ooh, look, let's go do other dumb shit. You know?
Mhm. I'm fairly certain in the seventh one too. This is where they drive the cars out of the building in Abu Dhabi
Yeah. Well, that was obviously
and
CGI,
survive
but it
and
was
survive.
yeah, it was dumb. But I liked it because of like at least it went over the top on it. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and
Um.
this movie does introduce another. Well, from this point forward, is a
Mhm.
basically reoccurring character of the franchise, Deckard Shaw, Jason Statham.
Mhm.
Um, Jason Statham, a great actor. A lot of films I like that
Wasted
he's
here.
done. Snatch is a great movie that he's
Mhm.
been in. A lot of really great films. The Megs are fun, I
Mhm.
guess, but he plays as a good action hero, and he's the bad guy here. But like because you hurt my family. We're back on the theme of family. His younger brother is the guy from the sixth movie we kind of sort of don't remember.
And that's the thing. It's like I can't remember if he's the villain of the seventh or if
Mhm.
that's someone else, or like was he the
Yeah.
villain of the like? It all blends together at this point because it's just everyone who gets introduced then becomes a hero in the next one. You're just like, which one were we discussing again? Because it's
Yeah.
like Deckard Shaw becomes a hero for the next one as a clutch person to help out when what's her name? Viral, Sylph, Cyril, whatever fucking
Cypher.
Cypher, thank you. A
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
Furiosa shows up, and I'm like, you were so much cooler in Mad Max, girl. I mean, or Atomic
Yeah.
Blonde. You're kind of wasted here.
Ooh, that was a fun movie too, by
Yes,
the way.
Atomic Blonde, great movie.
Yeah.
But no,
The seventh movie too, like you said, though, we will give it credit for being an ending that.
it's over the top. I liked that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the end too, when Dom and Brian are driving, and
Mm-hmm.
it was after Paul Walker passed, and the Wiz Khalifa Charlie Puth song is playing, and they drive
Mm-hmm.
separate ways. Like, it was a really nice ending. If they decided to call it there, I wouldn't have been
You know
surprised.
what? I was gonna say this. I was gonna say, I'm sure it's an unpopular opinion for those who like the later films, if there's anyone who likes the later films, but
Mhm.
these should have stopped at 7. The second
Yeah.
Paul Walker died, and the whole bonded brother energy between these two just couldn't be carried forward after that.
Mhm.
Because, like, honestly, even Paul Walker kind of grew into this role and made it watchable. They
Yeah.
should have just stopped it. They lost their point break. They have no point now. It like 8, 9, and 10 are all about Dom, And
Mhm.
on his own, he's just not that interesting a character.
They introduce a few characters in the later movies trying to
Mm-hmm.
find that same chemistry, but
Mm-hmm.
Paul Walker, rest in peace. You were synonymous with this franchise,
He
whatever
made
you
the
want to say.
franchise. Yeah.
You and him and Vin Diesel, they were very good friends in
They
real
were.
life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They
this
had
was
palpable
painful.
on-screen chemistry.
Yeah, you could
Mm-hmm.
tell they were friends, to your point, even on screen. And this really definitely hurt when he passed. And if they called it here, like you said, unpopular
Mm-hmm.
opinion, I would have been fine with it. It was a
Wouldn't have
good
been fine with
ending.
it. So yeah,
Um,
they bring in Cypher, and she's boring.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
movie was boring.
she's a villain. I
Meh.
don't quite know, like, she just kind of shows Dom a picture, and then he goes rogue on his family that he's been protecting for 7 movies. Like, I
It
think,
just doesn't. It doesn't work.
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and then 9 introduces a brother that was just retconned in, and
right,
it's supposed to introduce family issues. I'm like, but you have a sister and a
yeah.
brother-in-law you treat like a brother. You didn't need a brother. Like, this adds nothing.
I know what this adds John Cena, god damn it,
It adds
and
nothing.
that's just exactly what this franchise needed.
I like John
Another
Cena. He's wasted here too. Okay.
he does some fun little stupid action movies. He really
Mm-hmm.
does. He's a decent enough actor too, because he has to be a professional wrestler. He can do it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like The Rock. He's a good actor. Say what you want, action flick, buff, musclehead, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
he's a good actor and passable because of his career as a wrestler. And
Yeah.
John Cena, to your point, also here wasted in this role and has
Yes.
done some pretty good stuff.
Yeah. No. There's a teen sex comedy called Blockers, where 3 parents find out that their daughters have like done an American Pie, and they basically have a pact to lose their virginity at graduation.
Mhm.
And the parents are like, no, we have to stop that. And he plays this like delightfully overbearing dad that's sweet and weird. And the movie is actually really funny. And
Mhm.
he's one of the best parts of it because he just has a go for broke attitude for all the dumb pratfalls and jokes and everything they make him do.
You
He's
gotta
great
you gotta
there.
message me the name of that movie. I want to watch that.
Blockers.
That sounds fun.
Hmm. But Blockers is great. He's wasted in F9. That's where he comes
Mhm.
in. And then
Yeah.
F10 is just it doesn't even have a plot. It's just a mess of a movie. Like, have you
Yeah.
seen the 10th one?
I have. This was them saying, okay, we gotta
Wrap
one up
things up.
ourselves again, and
Hmm.
and we're gonna throw Jason Momoa now in the
Who's
picture.
great in the movie.
Yeah, as the estranged son of the villain they killed so many movies ago. Like
Another retcon. Yep.
so it does leave you with a bit of a somber note at the end, because you don't know really what happens to everybody. You're assuming they're probably going to survive and be fine, but it does leave some of their fates ambiguous, which I mean was, I guess, a bold
Yeah.
decision.
My problem is it has no real plot. It's just a
Mhm.
bunch of scenes strung together of them running around.
Yeah.
And it has no character arcs. None of the
Yeah.
characters grow or change in any real way from start to finish. Now, Jason Momoa is killing the shit out of his character. I
Mhm.
love him. I love the fact that they basically let him define the character. They let him
Mhm.
define his outfits. They let him to do everything to make the character the way he wanted. And you can tell he's having the best fucking time in this movie because he's the only watchable thing here. The rest of
Mhm.
the movie is dog shit.
It's pretty bad. I
Yeah.
mean, they definitely laid some foundation at the end, bringing back Giselle, who we thought died, who was Han's love interest, who's now alive, which is
But,
a
but
theme here I'm seeing continue. So I guess we'll see her in the next one, which
Okay,
there will be.
but spoiler: John Cena's character dies in this movie, and then Giselle comes back, and I'm like, okay, so when's John Cena coming back? Because no one fucking dies. Are you gonna bring back the Brazilian sister now? At this point, what the fuck is going on? She was shot in the head, but I think she's got a
I
good
was gonna
chance of
say, yeah,
coming back. You know,
the one that actually we saw die. Like, are we
right?
sure?
Fucking body double. No, I was over here the whole time working with Cypher on something else.
Yeah, guess what? This was more CGI that we paid for. We didn't really die.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I mean, it's I'll watch the next one. This one was not as successful as 9. Say what you will, 9
Mhm.
actually was, yeah, I mean, a little bit. They haven't had a really great film since 8,
7.
I guess. Yeah,
7.
looking at, like, the dollars, but
Oh.
1.5 billion, it's a lot of money, and then it just
Financially,
kind
you're
of
right.
ticks down from there,
Yeah,
I guess.
financially, 8 was their big one.
Mhm.
Like creatively, 7 was probably their peak. or
Mhm.
their second peak. 5 is the best, hands
Yes.
down.
Mhm.
And that doesn't even get into like the weird spin-offs that we have to like, I guess, quote unquote discuss. There's Hobbs and Shaw, which is also dog shit.
That is a fun action movie
I
between
couldn't.
Statham and The Rock. I mean,
I
whatever.
couldn't.
It was fine.
It's like, here are two characters we barely know. Let's have a movie about them, and they don't change in any significant way. Like, okay, sure.
I mean, Idris Elba, sure.
Oh yeah, no. That's the other problem I have with Hobbs and Shaw. Let's introduce Idris Elba, and oh, by the way, now superheroes exist in this universe.
But Helen Mirren.
Really?
Very, very interesting. I
So
mean,
dumb. And then never referenced again. Sister doesn't show back up. No one ever references the superhero tech. We go back to dealing with the fucking God's Eye for like the 8th fucking time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's also a cartoon, and that's as much as we need to say about that.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, it's a Netflix cartoon, Fast and Furious something or other. No one cares about because it's spies and kids. It's whatever.
I'm gonna have to maybe take a look because now I'm curious.
No, don't. I think it stars Dominic Toretto's cousin because this family can't stop breeding also and having retconned in family members. Yeah.
I'm noticing a theme here.
Mm-hmm. So I think the best part of these movies is the fact that they are just inconsistently named. I love that about this franchise. It's dumb and fantastic. I mean, the second movie set it off with Too Fast, Too Furious, which is a movie title that understands it's for a bad movie and it just wants to have fun, okay?
Funny enough, like, the Too Fast, Too Furious was always like a little inside joke between my wife and I. Like, whenever we were talking about something that like sucked, it was like Too Fast, Too Suck or something. Like, it's been a running joke for years, this movie.
I mean, it's as much of a joke title as like Electric Boogaloo. Anytime you want to slap that onto something, like it's like it's just you gotta. It makes its own memes. It's so good, and then the series since then has just never had the same title twice, and it's great.
It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell sometimes what's what. Like I had to Fast and Furious. Is that 5 or 4? Oh wait, Fast 5. Obviously, that's 5. Duh. Okay, Fast and Furious. Wait, which one is what? Like it's very confusing.
Yeah, there's Fast and Furious for number 4, but then Fast and Furious 6, and you're sitting there going, "Were there 4 movies in between I missed? Is this a side quill? What's going?" I'm so lost now.
Yeah. The Fast and the Furious starts us off, and then we're gonna have Fast and Furious in there as well, and then followed by Fast 5, and then F9. The tornado occurs. Like
F9, the Furious Saga. I think you're overselling it there, guys. Saga is doing a lot of heavy lifting for you.
I'm waiting for F9 now to be a really bad movie on sci-fi about some ridiculous tornado that I got to go watch because I love bad sci-fi movies. F9,
yes. So yeah, no, I think we're in agreement. They should have ended this with number 7. That was probably their peak. And I mean, if you decide to go watch through the series, just stop there.
Yeah, watch 1, 4, 5, 7, and you're good.
Yeah, you've got all the characters.
You can throw 3 in. You can throw 3 in there, I guess, if you want. Oh yeah, about 3 again with Fast and Furious. Like Tokyo, the people from Tokyo Drift come back in like 9 and 10 at some point and play like side characters. They're still involved in the franchise. Like it's very really weird at the end. Weird.
Well, and what's funny is that because the technically they consider Fast Tokyo Drift, the third one, to happen after most of the franchise, these characters are only supposed to be 6 months older, but are visibly balder.
Yeah, it's funny on like on the wiki page they like make sure to admit that they're in their 20s, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right. No, you are very definitely 35 with a bald patch and a beard gut, guys. Come on.
Yeah, you pulled off the teenager 15 years ago. It's not going to work now.
Not sorry. Gonna work now, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, all right. This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, putting donuts in the parking lot. I'm Mike Finkelstein.
And I'm Ghoul Mike, going to go pull my e-brake and do some spins as well.
Woo! And we will see you all next time. It's interesting to see him and Kitten shut the fuck up. We're recording a podcast.
Oh my god, cute little kitty.
Jesus. Loud as shit.
They have opinions as well.
Loud as shit.